In every relationship, there's three main ways that a man might be treating his woman. There is the mother dynamic, which is the most problematic. A man treating you like his mom, wanting you to be doing all this stuff for him, taking care of him as if he's a little boy. Driving him around would be a good example. Buying him things, insisting on you buying Christmas presents, taking care of him that way, spending your money on him, paying for dates. Also, that kind of man tends to be a big complainer as well. He whines. And you tend to be in the mother role, where it's like you're anticipating his needs. If you are anticipating a man's needs, know that you are shifting at least somewhat into that mother role. Feminine woman doesn't anticipate a man's needs. Okay, the man anticipates her needs. So that's the mother dynamic, very problematic. If you've been stuck in that before, you know that it's absolutely awful because it's going against your instinct and it's not going to feel good, though it might feel comfortable in a way if that was kind of what you experienced in childhood where you had to be the caretaker for your parents. The second dynamic is the roommate dynamic. So it's the 50-50 dynamic. It's like the man's doing things for you, you're doing things for him, we're going to split bills, you're going to pay for dates sometimes, he's going to pay for dates. It's very give and take, and there tends to be a lower level of attraction with this one. It's not going to last. The attraction isn't going to last forever, typically. And this feels better than the mother dynamic. Nothing feels worse than the mother dynamic for a woman. But the roommate dynamic is also a problem. It's not the way that you are instinctually wired. And you can tell that something feels off. The magic tends to wear off. You're not being cherished. That's the problem, right? You're not being cherished. And then the third dynamic, and this is what I help women do. This is what it's all about. It is the lover dynamic. You are being cherished. You're being taken care of. He is the one that is leading. He is the one that is planning dates, right? Instead of the mother planning dates or the roommates, like you're both kind of planning dates together. No, he's planning the dates. He's making the decisions. He's taking charge. He is planning vacations, getting it all organized. He is the one that is taking care of you. He is your protector. He is your provider. You look up to him as your hero, basically. In a way, like, I know that this can be somewhat triggering, but look at it like a father-daughter dynamic. I'm not saying you're his daughter, okay? What I am saying is it's a similar dynamic, or at least with a healthy father-daughter, where he is cherishing you, right? That's what a father should be doing for his daughter. He is cherishing his daughter. He is taking care of his daughter. He is providing for his daughter. He is protecting his daughter. Obviously, in a relationship with a grown woman, there's going to be a romantic and sexual element to that as well. But the dynamic is going to be very similar. What happens in this dynamic? Well, assuming that the man is also, in charge of his emotions, he's emotionally regulated, he's honorable, all of that stuff, he is going to continue to have a high level of attraction for you. Well, actually, no. You would have a high level of attraction for him. And as long as you're in your self-worth in this dynamic, as long as you're communicating your needs and feelings, as long as you're willing to walk away if you're not getting your needs met, as long as you're not stepping into your masculine energy, then he's also going to have a high level of attraction for you. And this is something that it can actually get better over time. This is a dynamic that can get better and better over time. The more that you learn how to embody this feminine role is the more that he will be inspired into embodying that masculine role. The role where he is taking care of you and protecting you and providing for you. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're understanding these three differences so that you can not get stuck in those first two horrible dynamics, which is what almost all women sooner or later get stuck in. My name is Zach Rohde. I am here to lead you into creating the relationship of your dreams by learning how to inspire a man into cherishing you with your feminine energy and with what I call feminine communication. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, make sure you do that below, hit the notification bell, and be sure to like this video because I am going to make sure it is a good one for you today. All right. So, with these three dynamics, it is difficult for women to maintain the lover dynamic. It's easier at first, can be very easy at first because society and our dating process, even today, even in our very modern, feminist world, it's still more set up for a man to be in that caretaking role. Why? Because of the dating process. Because it's still somewhat, at least, somewhat, not nearly as much as it should be, but somewhat socially acceptable for the man to be doing the work, right? He's the one that's leading. He should be the one that's setting up plans. He should be the one that's paying for dates. He should be the one that is paying for dates, making sure that everything's happening on the dates, dropping you off, or at least coordinating the transportation in some kind of way, right? So that lover dynamic is built in where he is taking care of you. And if a man's not doing that from the beginning, man, there's huge issues, like really big issues where it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be an absolute disaster. But usually, at least to some degree, the man is going to be the one that's more taking charge in this way. But what happens is, once the man and woman get more comfortable, especially once they move in together and get married, especially, but even just moving in together before marriage, or even without moving in together, but things become more routine. It's like, I'll come to your place, you'll come to my place. Things start to shift much more into the 50-50 dynamic. Not necessarily right away. This can take time. And that's what makes this sneaky, right? Because it's not like it happens from the start, and it's not necessarily that it's like all at once. This is something that can take months. But what you will often find is what started out relatively good, you're looking at months later and you're like, what? I'm like losing attraction, or he's losing attraction for you in some kind of way. Things have flipped. And now, they flipped, or they're just more 50-50, right? And you're just not feeling as good. A lot of that magic has disappeared. You might be feeling a lot more irritation, or you might be feeling more anxiety. And it's because he's not leading nearly as much as he should be. It's like you're both kind of leading together in the roommate dynamic. That doesn't feel good. Now, if you are a relatively emotionally, we'll call it like emotionally healthy, emotionally regulated person, like this can still be a functional relationship. My marriage, prior to me learning about polarity, my marriage was the roommate dynamic. And we still had a reasonable amount of attraction for each other. We'd get in fights like once a week or whatever, but our attraction was okay, our connection was okay. It was actually probably a better marriage than most, because most marriages are train wrecks. They're just not, they're nothing like they could be and should be. But even in that roommate dynamic, there is still so many problems. And all of our fights were caused because I was not fully leading. I didn't know how to fully be her leader, how to fully cherish her, protect her, including protect her from myself, how to provide for her. And she was controlling. She had difficulty letting go of control, letting go of being interdependent instead of hyper independent. I was actually attracted to her in large part because she was hyper independent because of my own wound, right? So it caused these problems later on. Again, it's so easy earlier on, but then after the dating phase wears off, the honeymoon period starts to die, you move in together, things shift, and then the problems really start to show themselves. So we shifted into the roommate dynamic, and it caused all of these issues. And then once I discovered polarity, I completely transform that, where now I'm fully leading, I'm fully providing, I'm fully protecting, and she just gets to receive, be taken care of, and things are way better. But for some people, it gets even worse. It gets way worse because it flips further into the mother-son dynamic, where you you might even skip the whole roommate thing. You might just kind of very quickly become this, where it's like, let's say you move in together. It doesn't have to be this way. It can happen before, but let's say you have moved in together. It's like you're doing his laundry, you're cooking him food, you might even be paying for things. Maybe you're driving him around, you're organizing things, you're giving him advice, maybe because he's coming to you for advice. What has happened? He's become your son to one degree or another. You're now anticipating his needs, you're now taking care of him, and your attraction to him is really starting to die. Now, if you have tons of wounding around this, you actually might still remain somewhat attracted. The healthier you become, the less attracted you're going to be to a man in this dynamic. Like, it will be unbelievably repulsive, just like disgusting. but you might not be there right now, right? There still might be some attraction because of these wounds and trauma bonds that you're stuck in. If that's you, you can still shift it, right? But you have to start shifting your behaviors. And what I'm helping you do through this video and through many of my videos is to help you feel those feelings, get in touch with those feelings, learn about what your needs actually are in a relationship, realize how dysfunctional your love life has been or currently is. Your love life might be a total train wreck, or it might be like okay, but it could be way better, right? So anything that's not the dream relationship where a man's fully cherishing you, I'm going to call that dysfunction. It's some level of dysfunction because you're not operating fully from your instinct and your man's not operating fully from his instinct, because it's more of the roommate dynamic or more of the mother-son dynamic. So if you're in that, if you're in either of those unhealthy dynamics, or if you've been in them before, I got good news. You can fully shift it, right? Like you can fully shift out of this dynamic or avoid it from the start. And it all comes down, the main thing is that it comes down to you learning how to share your feelings. You got to be in touch with your feelings. You got to be in touch with your needs. And you're communicating your feelings whenever a man is doing something that starts depolarizing the dynamic. Or if you start depolarizing it, if you notice one of your own control patterns, right? So for example, if you start anticipating his needs and doing his laundry, but he didn't lead you to do it, well, it's because maybe of an anxiety in you. It's like, oh, I should be doing this. Or because nothing is getting done and then you're just getting frustrated in some kind of way, right? So those are your feelings. Like feelings are coming up for you. If you go into the control pattern, you're enabling his unhealthy behavior, and then the dynamic shifts in a direction that you don't want. But if you learn how to share your feelings, you start wearing your heart on your sleeve all the time, then you're giving him an opportunity to see himself, see his own behaviors, and start shifting and becoming a better man for you. By the way, before I wrap things up, understand that doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing anything for a man. In a healthy relationship, a woman definitely should be doing things for a man, but it's through his leadership and not yours, not you anticipating his needs. So for example, doing his laundry is fine, especially if he's providing for you, right? If you're living together and he's doing outside housework and stuff, but not because it's like a default where the things aren't getting done, so it's like, okay, I'll just start doing it, right? That's you choosing to lead because he's not leading, instead of you getting vulnerable and you sharing your feelings. And there's tons of things like that. You know, my wife does lots of things for me, but it's because I told her to do it. And not because she's just anticipating things. The more that you anticipate, the more that you're in your masculine energy. Anticipation is a masculine orientation. It's thinking about the future rather than receiving the present, right? Receiving a man's leadership, basically telling you what to do. And by the way, if telling you what to do, if that's triggering at all, I'm talking about telling you from a place of love and care, right? Like how I'm telling you on this video. I've told you to do a whole bunch of things, but it's because I care about any woman, right? I don't have to be married to her. I want you to be happy. So a man should always be giving his leadership, his direction, his boundaries, telling her to do anything or what not to do from a place of loving care. And you should always be sharing your feelings vulnerably, sharing your needs, never holding back, never hiding, never avoiding, and that's how you're going to maintain a healthy polarized relationship where you are being cherished. This is what I help women do. I help women in my masterclass at polaritymasterclass.com and in my academy program at thedreamrelationship.com. All of my offers are below this video in the description. Open that up, look at my links, and start learning this material. Start understanding how to use feminine communication, how to let go of control, how to be vulnerable, so that you can start creating the relationship of your dreams or attracting a man who is going to create that relationship for you. Whatever your control patterns are, I don't care if you've been in the mother dynamic, the last 50 relationships you've been in, you can turn it all around, 100%. You just have to choose to start learning this. Start implementing it. Start being courageous. Once you learn how to communicate your needs and feelings, and you stop dishonoring yourself by doing things you shouldn't be doing, by going into your masculine energy, everything starts to shift. You start to heal. You start to recognize your feminine self-worth, recognize how worthy you are of a man's care, and then you start actually getting it in real life. Go below my video, open up those links, start learning, learn how to create the relationship of your dreams.